Today is March 15th, also known as the Ides of March, which is a little bit ominous. As of this time, Japan is still planning on hosting the Summer Olympics. What could go wrong? So, if you happen to be thinking about going there, here are some useful Japanese phrases for the Tokyo Olympics. どの電車はオリンピックに行きますか?どの電車はオリンピックに行きますか? Which train is going to the Olympics? どの電車 means which train, オリンピックに means towards the Olympics, and 行きますか means is going towards. So you might notice that the word オリンピック sounds like Olympics, and that's because this is a loan word in Japanese, and that's a word that's loaned from another language into Japanese. But usually there's some sort of translation that goes on. For example, in Japanese, plurals and singulars are the same, and so words that are plural in English, like Olympics, tend to drop the S at the end and then just transfer in like that. So Olympics becomes オリンピック. どの電車はオリンピックに行きますか? Another loan word that you might hear at the Tokyo Olympics is stadium, stadium, or stadium. And there's a couple things going on with this. One is that there's the vowel sound, stadium, and in English that's a diphthong, or two vowels that are kind of combined into a single sound. Japanese tends not to use diphthongs, and instead they'll use the shorter version of the vowel, and so A's become A, I's become I, U's become U, E's become E, and O's become O. And the other thing that's going on is the middle sound, stadium, becomes stadium. And that's because there isn't a natural D sound in Japanese. Well, that's not quite true. There's da, ji, zu, de, do, which are a family of letters that sort of have the D sound, and you can hear definitely in da and then de and do, but not so much in the middle two. Ji and zu have a different sound at the beginning. And this is kind of for historical reasons. It's also a little bit of a quirk of the Japanese language. But the interesting thing is, if you were to go to an older Japanese person and ask them to say di, then often they'll just say ji instead. And that's starting to change, or that's changing with more modern words. For example, Disneyland is Disneylando. And so what they do to spell that one is they actually spell it with a de and then a small I to indicate that it's supposed to be a D sound. So it's kind of this weird psychological thing, like you should be able to say D if you can say D and I, but for some reason that's a little bit harder for Japanese people to say. So yeah, there you go. Stadium, stadium. Japanese is filled with loanwords, like, coronavirus, coronavirus, coronavirus. Now, the first part of this word that I've chosen completely at random is corona, which sounds just like the American version, corona. But the second part, virus, sounds a little bit different from the English version, which is virus. And that's because, again, Japanese is missing a certain kind of sound, and there is no real native V sound in Japanese. And so the word virus mutates into virus, much like an infectious disease might when it's going from country to country. Another useful phrase if you happen to be in Japan for the Summer Olympics is お土産売っていますか?お土産売っていますか? Do you sell any souvenirs? So in Japan, omiyage is a huge part of the Japanese culture. Whenever you travel, you're expected to bring back lots of stuff, and this does a couple of things. One, it helps commemorate the travel that you just did, and two, it lets the people back at home know that you were thinking of them. So in a sense, you almost don't really even need to ask this question because almost every store is guaranteed to have omiyage of some sort. But if you ask it, the storekeeper will then know what you're looking for and will be able to point out all the wonderful things that you can bring back home. Just hopefully not COVID-19 coronavirus. This phrase can be used for other forms of shopping. For example, 石鹸売っていますか?石鹸売っていますか? Do you sell soap? Because we know that hand washing is one of the most important and effective ways of maintaining our health. But if you can't wash your hands, then ハンドジェル売っていますか?ハンドジェル売っていますか? Do you sell hand gel or hand sanitizer? If you've unfortunately caught something and wish to prevent the spread of infectious disease to other people, マスク売っていますか?マスク売っていますか? Do you sell face masks? Now in Japan, it's not exactly uncommon to see people wearing face masks because they're trying to prevent the spread of things like colds, flus, whatever. But if you see a lot of face masks, you might want to stay away. One of the most useful phrases for getting around in Japan is 駅はどこですか?駅はどこですか? Where is the train station? And this is because in Japan, eki, or the train station, is the central hub for most major cities. From there, you can get to pretty much everything that the city has to offer. And because Japan has such a great transit system, if you know where one train station is, you can pretty much get to anywhere from anywhere. But if you need more information or run into a little bit of trouble, you could always ask, 交番はどこですか?交番はどこですか? Where's a police booth? In Japan, koban, or police booth, is usually a small office with maybe a couple of police officers, and they're there to provide additional information or services that the average citizen might not know. For example, if you, say, need medical help, you could ask them, 病院はどこですか? 病院はどこですか? Where's the hospital? So if you're at the hospital, it might be useful to be able to describe your symptoms. For example, 骨折れています. 骨折れています. My bone is broken. Although, hopefully they'd be able to figure that out from context. Funny story, I actually did break a bone once while I was in Japan, and the healthcare there is really, really good. So I went to some medical center, they did the x-ray, the doctor looked at it and all this other stuff. And I was a little concerned because at the end they were like, oh, I'm sorry, your health insurance is not compatible with our medical center, so you're gonna have to pay out of pocket. And I was kind of terrified because those things can be really expensive. But then I asked, how much is it gonna be? And they were like, oh, it'll be like $50. And I was like, oh, well, that's almost cheaper than it would be with insurance at a lot of places in America. So, no big deal, I guess. Another useful phrase at the hospital might be 手が痛い, 手が痛い, my hand hurts. This could also be used for things like 足が痛い, my foot hurts, 頭痛い, my head hurts, 喉が痛い, my throat hurts, or 咳が出ます, a cough is coming out, or I'm coughing, or 熱あります, I have a fever. But hopefully, everyone will have a safe and wonderful time at the Tokyo Olympics and not need to know any of that health stuff or learn any phrases like コロナウイルスの検査薬ありますか? コロナウイルスの検査薬ありますか? Do you have tests for the coronavirus? Again, hopefully nobody will ever need to know that, but it's probably better to be prepared. Enjoy! どの電車はオリンピックに行きますか? どの電車はオリンピックに行きますか? So, Dyson, it's a little loud. Dyson, how do you feel about not being in school for the next 3 weeks? Oh, you're indifferent? So you're okay with going back to school?